6 days later, you participated in the pulling out of what was euphemistically referred to as the gun. Right? The gun.
Yeah, we found the gun.
6 days before pulling a gun out, you had been told by Victor Dinsmore that it was a .38 revolver with a .357 interchangeable barrel.
That's what he said.
Several months earlier, Jason Autry told you it was or told the conglomerate of people there, it was a .357 that Shane Austin had on him that day. Correct?
Correct.
You were expecting to receive a .38 revolver out of the water with a .357 interchangeable barrel. Correct?
I didn't know what we would find, but I don't know I had any expectation. We were looking for a gun.
And you found one,
Yes.
which was a .32 revolver
I believe that's correct.
that Victor Dinsmore had said, we did throw away a little junky, quote, piece of shit .32 revolver in the past.
I believe he said that was in the pond.
But the issue is, he admitted he threw a .32 revolver away in the past, right?
In the pond, yeah. He described that in his cousin's pond or something.
Have you done anything to go look through the pond for the .32 revolver?
I hadn't. I don't know if anyone else did.
Was this a moment where you say, oh, wait just a minute. This is not adding up. If Autry's telling the truth, if Dinsmore is telling the truth, the physical evidence of this case we're so desperate to find, it's going to be a .357.
I didn't know what I expected to find at that time.
But when you found it and it did not match the important witnesses' statements, did you not realize we need another PowerPoint meeting with the DAs and the TBI officers? This is not being corroborated.
No.
Did you say, now wait a minute. I remember seeing the Silverado on the ATM machine. Let me see those cell records to see if they were in Parsons. Because if the truck wasn't in the garage and this gun was never the .32, folks, we got a problem. You never did you?
No.
You see it now, don't you?
No.
Under oath, you're saying you don't see. This case is based upon what people told law enforcement.
Yes.
It started with Sheila Kilser calling you and telling you something that's been not true. Correct?
She told me what I believe. I believe she told me what she believed, what she heard.
I'm aware of the phrase, my truth. You believe the truth is objective. Like, I can tell you today's Friday, that doesn't make it Friday, does it?
No.
You believe in objective accuracy. And the most fundamental point of the murder is what gun did it. And your two witnesses had lied to you. Right? You're saying, you're shaking your head no.
Which two are you talking about?
Dinsmore and Autry. Dinsmore said, I'm 100% certain you ended the conversation and everything you said is the truth. He lied to you about the gun. He said, I remember, and he said, I know my handguns. It was a .38 revolver with a .357 interchangeable barrel, which he said that, didn't he?
I heard him say that.
It's not just missing a number. You can't interchange a .357 barrel on a .32 revolver.
We hear people all the time talking about revolvers, and they all describe them as .357s. And when you actually look at it, when you actually get it in your possession, oh, this is not a .357, this is a .38. I have heard that, seen that so many times over my career. That's the way I took it.
But he said, I know my handguns. How many times do you have witnesses say, I know my handguns?
Occasionally.
And you said that, so you do investigation on picking up weapons and things of that nature.
Yes,
You have to have a familiarity with handguns.
yes.
You have to have a familiarity with the ammunition that goes along with the handguns.
Yes.
At any meeting prior to trial, did you tell either Jennifer Nichols or Paul Hagerman and the other two prosecutors, folks, there's a .380 round next to her remains. Its diameter is less than the defect size. I think we might have been lied to about this .32 revolver's importance.
I didn't know until later on that there was a .380 casing, much later. There's a .380 casing even found. I wasn't a part of that search area.
Until after the trial?
I would say, I don't know. We picked up 12 gauge ammunition that they were out, I didn't. It's my understanding what was recovered. There were rifle casings, pistol, there was everything out.
Okay, and maybe y'all didn't disclose it. What's been disclosed has been a .410 shotgun,
Okay,
which I believe you agree is a squirrel. People shoot squirrels with it.
usually,
And you hunt squirrels in the woods, right?
yeah,
A .308 deer rifle cartridge was
Okay.
found, and you hunt deer in the woods, right?
yes, sir,
And a .380 is from a pistol,
usually, yes.
and you don't hunt with pistols, do you?
Most folks don't.
And the other two, the .410 and the .306, were far removed from the remains. The .380 was right there by the remains, wasn't it?
I didn't collect it, I don't know.
I didn't
was
either,
told
but I've
that.
seen the exhibit, sir.
Okay, I
Have
have
you?
it. I have it.
There was a diagram prepared. Did you ever see that?
Of diagram of,
The remains and the location of the .380.
no.
Because at trial, you talked about how hard you worked and how difficult this case was, but you never examined the scene of the remains?
I was there. That was not the pit, the ditch where her remains were found. I was not in that area. That was forensic technicians, I think folks from the body farm. I was back up on the hill walking shoulder to shoulder with other agents, looking for other pieces.
But there was a diagram prepared.
Okay.
Did you ever see the diagram?
I don't recall ever seeing it.
Front and back, or two documents. You prepared another summary after the May 19th visit with Mr. Dinsmore, correct?
Yeah, I did. May 19th, 2017, this agent met with Victor Dinsmore and Sandy Dinsmore at their home in Indianapolis, Indiana. Purpose of this meeting was to ask some clarifying questions from the interview the day before in the parking lot of Gander Mountain.
The interview was recorded. See the attached audio file.
Correct.
This was provided June 12th, 2017, the report date, correct?
That's what it says, yes.
I believe the trial was set in July, correct? The initial,
You're probably right.
and there was a continuance, I think, based on finding this gun.
I don't remember. Probably right.
You did not say, the witness said he's 100% certain and told me everything he said is the truth, that the gun he threw out that Shane Austin sold to him was a .38 revolver with a .357 interchangeable barrel.
No. It's in the recording.
And this report was provided after you had pulled the gun out.
I think you're right.
You then created a report from February.
It probably sat on my desktop, Mr. Bates. I'm sure I didn't create that then. I'm sure I created it when I got back.
But in February of 2017 is when you created an IR that said it was that Mr. Dinsmore told you it was a revolver possibly. You created that report some 4 months after, and after the gun had been found. Do you remember that?
I don't remember when it was created. I remember writing the report, like I said. A very busy man. Sometimes they didn't get turned in until later. That's my fault.
The issue's not the timing, sir. You did not disclose the truth. This whole case is about the truth, is it not?
Whole case is the truth, and I've told the truth.
You withheld in your summary important information that rebuts 2 witnesses on an important piece of evidence.
No, sir.
No?
No.
You're
It's
under
in the
oath, sir.
recording.
You're saying no, you did not?
I didn't withhold anything. It's in the recording. I recorded it. That's why the purpose of the recording. You don't miss anything.
You recorded it fully expecting to receive a gun from the ditch that matched what Mr. Dinsmore told you.
You never know what you're gonna get when you have to look. You have to find it first.
Right.
Expectations, I don't go with expectations. I go with what I go find.
Like bank records, cell records, ATM videos.
Go find it.
Things that cannot be manipulated. Things that cannot change over the course of time by vulnerable people who, in your words, are interested in self-preservation. Correct?
That's a motive.
The witnesses that y'all lined up against Zach, many were in jail, correct?
Some were.
Criminal charges pending against them, correct?
If they were in jail,
Other people, known drug activity, known criminal behavior, correct?
if they were in jail, yes.
But there were other people who were out of jail that you knew were engaged in criminal activity that testified.
We never dealt with Sunday school teachers in this case. They were all in that drug element.
And you found no corroborating evidence of what they say Zach Adams said.
that piece of fingernail polish in the couch where Dylan said they raped her?
Dylan?
I know the truth about what happened to Holly Bobo lies with those four. The events of that day is the different perspective of the witnesses of people you talk to.
The people you talked to lied to you throughout your investigation, correct?
Some may have.
You have, if they provided 5 statements, if you believe the 5th one, and the first 4 are inconsistent, that means they lied to you, correct?
I don't judge one individual by the whole, no.
Because what you did is when they gave you statements that were consistent with what you believed, you used the word, quote, fantastic, and you didn't follow back up. You didn't continue to lie to them and pierce through and see if you could find another story. You just stuck with the last thing they said.
I wasn't the only one following up on the information that was coming in.
But it was all based on statements. None of it was physically corroborated, including the very gun y'all pulled from the ditch, correct?
Physically corroborated, is my understanding that that round was consistent with a hole in her skull. Am I wrong about that?
The same way a 380 is consistent, correct?
I don't know that.
Well, how is it that you know a .32 revolver that has a diameter of .31 is consistent, but you don't know that a .380 who has a diameter of under .36?
I don't. I'm not a firearms expert. I don't.
Do you regret the May 2017 Dinsmore interviews?
No. Why do you think I followed up with, I obviously reviewed or listened to that recording. I went back and followed up with that to assure myself that I didn't put words in his mouth, that I did not cause him to lie to me. I didn't want to lie. I made that very clear. That's obviously why I went back. I'm not interested in anything but the truth, Mr. Bates. That's it. I don't want anything coming from this stand that is not the truth. That's exactly why I went back. I thank you for playing that. Because I knew I wouldn't have left it like that.
So you were concerned about the first day's interview?
Obviously, yes.
So you did make a mistake?
No, I didn't make a mistake. I followed up with it.
And
I asked him, was that the truth? What he was telling me, I was looking for what they did with her body before going to town, based on what Mr. Autry had said.
Mr. Autry never had said going to town. Sir, there's no...
They did.
There's no...
They did. Mr. Autry didn't say they went to town. Let me finish, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Autry had, we had learned that information, I guess, from prior interviews, that they were in Parsons. Okay. Where did they go with her body that quick? Follow the paper trail from just outside of Shane Austin's driveway, going west-northwest down parallel to the interstate, and then her body is ultimately found behind that cell tower. I was behind that cell tower that Friday after we picked those papers up. I parked up there. I was driving a old Chevy Impala. Couldn't drive down in there. It wasn't as overgrown as you might have seen it lately. However, I didn't see the first shoe print or the first tire track when I went down in there. I looked because it just looked like a place you would dump a body.
You acknowledge
You
that?
can finish, Your Honor.
I thought it was. Are you not?
I walked that area, and I was probably within 100 yards of where her body was later found in September of 2014. And I think Terry Dykus met me there. I'm sure he did, because he helped me collect the evidence. We walked that. I walked it. I remember, and I think Terry went with me. I was that close. But again, no tracks, no prints, led me to believe her body wasn't dumped that day. Once we found her body, and I'm putting the pieces together here, where did they go? If Autry's statement, they let him out at Yellow Springs Church, and then they're in Parsons later by lunch, where'd they go with the body? Shane and Autry's grandmother had died. I didn't know at the time. I didn't know who Shane Austin was that Friday. Didn't know who Zach Adams was. I had no idea who any of these guys were that Friday. Shane Austin's grandmother had died about, I later learned, 2 weeks prior to Holly's kidnapping. That house was sitting vacant. I found a dollar bill and her receipt for books in the front yard of that house. Not knowing, I didn't know what I didn't know, I guess is the best way to say it. Later in this investigation, I learned about Victor Dinsmore and where he lived and his close association with these guys. At the time when I was questioning Victor, it made perfect sense to me that I had heard or had a report or something somewhere had learned that Zach had left his truck in Victor's garage. That's what I was proving. Where did they go with that body that quick? Because I knew on the Friday that I found those papers, hadn't been anybody behind that cell tower.
Your belief is Jason Autry lied then?
Did Jason Autry say that they dumped the body that day?
Your belief is?
I don't know.
Your belief is that they had the body at Shane's trailer for several days. Alive.
I don't know that. I don't know that that ever crossed my mind.
But you believed it for a while.
I don't know. I don't know that that ever crossed my mind there.
What Dylan
Shane's
said.
trailer doesn't.
Now, you believe where
Maybe.
the body, the remains were, was, we say 2 miles from Shane Austin's house?
Maybe, I don't know the exact distance.
And your belief is, first of all, your knowledge is that remain site is in the same cell tower area where there was no activity for 30 minutes on Holly Bobo's phone.
You would have to ask a cell tower person again. I didn't go down that road.
Okay. Your belief is that between Zach and Shane and maybe Dylan or Autry, they knew how to get to that remain site pretty quickly, and they knew it'd be a good place to dump the body.
We learned that that's where Zach hunted, on the Tubbs property.
So yes,
He was very familiar with it. He was very familiar with every piece of property out there, I'm sure.
Then explain to me what makes sense of them at Yellow Springs Road that morning, thinking the only way they could dispose of a body is driving 30 minutes away to a federal refuge and staying there and then driving 30 minutes back, and Zach having to drop Autry off so he could make his lunch plans instead of prioritizing getting rid of the body. That doesn't make sense, does it?
You would have to ask your client what makes sense. I don't know.
I'm going to.
I followed the evidence.
I'm going to. My question to you is, does it make sense to you to drive almost an hour and be gone an hour and a half when you had a place 2 miles away?
I think it was, what did Autry tell us about taking her and gutting her and sinking her in the river?
So yes,
That's the plan they followed.
and that's all based on Autry.
I don't know what makes sense. What makes sense when they're dumping a body?
Isn't that your job as an investigator, to determine some logical conclusion as what took place and how? You're trying to kill people over it.
Just follow the evidence and the information that we're getting. That's our job.
And how much misinformation did you receive in the course of your investigation?
I don't know.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bits of misinformation.
There were a lot of dead-end leads in this one, more than I could fathom.
And Dylan Adams gave you misinformation.
Did he, or just out of Dylan can't chronologically put things in order they happened?
He said Jason Autry was the first person to have sex with Holly Bobo.
That's what he said.
You understand the jury was told he did not.
Like again, I did not, I had reviewed Jason Autry's testimony. I don't know what happened in this courtroom.
What award did you receive at the end of this trial from the TBI?
Agent of the Year.
No further questions.
Mr. Bates, before you stop, this last document you handed up was IR 3145. Did you want that entered?
Yes, Your Honor.
You still got that, Mr. Booth? Mr. Booth, you still have that document? You still have it?
I've got two.
Just pass both of those back. 3145, without objection, will be marked Exhibit 64.
Yes, sir.